Welcome back to Born for the Stories, where we speak the truth no one told us, so you don't have to carry this alone. I want to start today with something I said in a previous episode, almost as a side note. I said, I was in pure fight or flight for 18 months. But if you had asked me, I would have had no idea what was going on. And I've been sitting with this ever since, because I think the sentence describes a lot of us. We are so focused on keeping our child alive, keeping our family together, keeping it all moving, that we completely miss what's happening inside of our own bodies. And nobody talks about that part. So today, that's exactly what we are doing. This episode is for every parent who said, I'm fine, and meant it while their nervous system was quietly running on fumes. Such a stressful state. Constant scanning is the biggest one I noticed in my body, and even to this day. And I know when I'm constant scanning, I know that I need to check myself and reevaluate and turn internal and see what's going on, because it's an indication for myself that I'm in that fight or flight or that very stressful mode. And constant scanning would be things for me like just overanalyzing everything that was going on. Either if it was like on a surgical day, like overanalyzing expression that the nurse or the doctor had on their face. It could be just their tone of voice. It could be a general question that they're asking as we're getting closer through pre-op, but I'm like overanalyzing it. Why would they ask that? Like, is there a problem now? Just different things like that. And is my son okay? Like he had a little bit of a sniffle. Is he going to be sick right before we go into this procedure? And just not over analyzing, but over obsessing about the possible outcomes on the other side of that, and just playing through my brain like, well, if this happens, this is how I would control it. And then, but if option B happens, then this is how I would control it. You're like planning ahead and preparing ahead to handle these things that may not even actually ever come into fruition, which just takes a lot of energy away from your presence and in your daily routine. And I definitely was not physically present during this time. I mean, my body was there, but like my mental state of that was not there. It would just involve like just constantly focusing on what was the next step in this process versus actually enjoying the in and out of every day. And as many of you that listen to this podcast, I mean, we had another kiddo at home. Obviously we had our marriage. I have a practice. And so there were just things that I wasn't consistently showing up for in a present state, because all I could think and obsess about was the next step in the surgical process or the healing process that we were going through over 6 months in between each reoccurring surgery. And I don't say this because I don't want you to feel like you're being dramatic if you can relate or you're going through this, because it's not being dramatic. You are truly dysregulated inside of your body and inside of your nervous system, and there is a difference between the two. So don't be too hard on yourself. Let's talk a little bit about what fight or flight actually is in like just plain language. And I think it's a hot term right now, nervous system regulation. Oh, you're in too much in fight or flight. But let's just break it down. I know that most of us know that fight or flight would be a scenario of like you're being chased by a bear, your body goes into stress mode, adrenaline starts pumping, and you do whatever you have to do to either fight that bear or get far, far, far away into a safe area. And then how our bodies are designed is once you're on the other side of that stressful encounter, you're safe. Once you're on the other side of that, then your body would go back into what we call rest and digest. And it would just operate at a normal level. Stress would decrease, cortisol would decrease. That's just like a very simplistic way to think about it. But as medical parents and as caregivers, we find that this is not happening because you're constantly being faced with the next thing, or you're doing what we were talking about as far as like that constant scanning. And when you're under that repetitive stress, your body interprets it as you're being constantly chased by a bear. Even if there's no bear in sight, just that input triggers your body enough to stay in that stressful state. And that can have a really negative effect on your mental capacity, but also on your physical capacity and what happens with your body. So, we're going to dive a little bit into that as well. Talking a little bit more about chronic and acute activation, which is exactly what that scenario was just about, is that when that lion goes away, your body goes back into rest and digest, but that medical journey doesn't stop. And for some, it never stops. And for us, it did stop, but there doesn't mean that my nervous system was not trained to be in constant scanning mode. And it's taken myself a lot of time and repetition and healing in different modalities to learn that that was a problem to be constantly stressed and how to properly manage that. So if you are someone that your medical journey with your child is over, it's still a good indication that you may want to check in and see, are you stuck or are you able to get back into that more relaxed, peaceful state for yourself and for your family so you can truly enjoy the joys of life. When we're talking about that chronic stress and we're not able to get out of it, how that presents in the body over time are things like it can make your jaw super tense. One thing I love to talk about with my patients inside my office is how often do you feel like you're clenching your jaw? And a lot of times they'll say, oh, through the night, or sometimes if I'm super stressed through the day, I notice that my teeth are clenched. But I want to leave this little nugget of information with you is that most of the time your teeth actually should not be touching. Your jaw should be dropped down and more relaxed. And so if you do find that your teeth are touching for not for a good reason, not because mainly meaning your teeth should be touching if you're chewing food, right? So if that's not the scenario, then we have to work on how to relax that jaw. And there's a huge amount of information that we could go into, but I don't think this is the time or place. However, I'll just leave you with a little information because if you are interested, there are different resources out there, is that what's going on in your jaw, that tension and that clenching can also affect your pelvic floor. That can add a lot of stress to that area. But over time, that obviously is going to wear and tear the teeth and the jaw joint, and it's just not going to feel very good. And we almost always don't even notice we're doing it because we've been doing it so constantly for so long. So I want you to do a body scan. Even right now, just pause and scan your body, start at the top of your head and work your way down and ask yourself, where are you holding tension? And I bet if you're a woman listening to this, almost every woman's going to feel tension probably in their jaw. It is one of the most common places that we hold it. Some other things that may show up for you is that it may disrupt your gut. When we are under constant stress and in fight or flight, our gut microbiome gets really out of whack and it starts doing crazy things, and we can have more digestive upset. And it can almost lead to something that is known as leaky gut, and that overall affects your immune system, among other things. Obviously, sleep disruption when we're under constant stress, and when we're not sleeping, our body's not healing, it's not repairing, it's not getting into that deep state that it needs to help your body actually reset, so then you can wake up and show up as the best version of yourself to continue to caregive, to continue to make these medical decisions, to show up for your family, whatever the scenario actually may be. Something called emotional flatness may happen when you're constantly dysregulated and you're just going through the motions, right? There's no true joys, there's no true laughter, there's no really enjoying and being present inside that moment. You're just doing enough to get through the day and show that you're here and you're present. Hypervigilance is one of the most common things that I see when I'm talking to our guest on the podcast. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is almost always an indication that you are in fight or flight. So check in with that. And it's hard not to be when your child's going through such a big thing and there's constant decisions that need to be made. It's our job as the parents and the caregivers, but I think us moms, we take that on more, and we just are constantly being hypervigilant, over analyzing and doing the things that we need to do. So just some things to think about. If you think, oh, I'm not stressed going through this process, those are some of the checkpoints that you may see or hear. Here's something I've come to understand. Both as a mom who's lived this and as someone who works with nervous systems every day. Safety is not just an emotion. It's a psychological state. Your body cannot heal in an environment it perceives as a threat. That's not a mindset issue. That's biology. When you're in chronic fight or flight, your body is prioritizing survival over everything else. It's going to prioritize survival over digestion, over sleep, over proper immune function, over emotional regulation. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's just that it was never designed to do it for 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, 5 years, a decade, let alone a lifetime straight. And this is why, for you and your child, one of the most powerful things that can happen in that healing process is feeling genuinely safe. Not told that you are safe, not performing calm, actually feeling in your body, because the body speaks before the mind catches up. And it also heals before the mind fully understands what shifted. When your nervous system comes down out of that fight or flight, you become a different presence for your child. Not because you're performing calm, but because your body is actually transmitting it. Kids feel that, especially little ones who can't articulate it but are reading you constantly. And most of us at some point have actually experienced that. If you think about especially when your kiddos are young and again, they don't have all the words to express themselves. They're that toddler stage where they have huge emotions and their brains just aren't catching up at the rate that their emotions are expanding. But if you come into the room and you're stressed and you're on edge and you're more upset, almost always it'll trigger them to be aware and more heightened and stressed. And then typically, the path that I'm talking about, then everything just seems to fall apart. And either the kid's having a tantrum or a meltdown, or you're having big emotions at the same time they're having big emotions, because in the space of where you show up like that and you are less tolerant, for lack of better terms, because you need to be held inside that moment, they feel that and then they mirror that back to you. This happens to me often with having 2 young children, and I almost always try to self-reflect before things escalate too much and think, okay, where is my nervous system at? How am I speaking? What is my tone? How am I showing up for them? Because they're mirroring back to me what they're getting from me. Even if I don't realize it in the moment, that's how I feel. That's a good indication that I need to take a break and have a few moments to myself or take some deep breaths to help reset that intention of the day. And I heard one time somewhere, or I saw it online, but it was you as the parent, so the mom or the dad or the caregiver, your emotional state is the thermostat for theirs. And when I heard that, I wanted to break down because I've never thought about it that way. But there are so many times that I showed up, especially during this process of taking care of and being a caregiver through such a stressful time, that I was stressed and I was hypervigilant and I was on edge because I was trying to figure all the things out and keep a family happy and healthy and thriving and see patients and all the things. But I was so in fight or flight that when my emotions came into the same room as my kiddos, they were heightened and they were aware. They didn't have the words to say it, but now that I know that, I can see it. And so I hope to pass along this information to help bring some awareness and some co-regulation to you and to your family through these trying times. Telling yourself to relax doesn't work. Your nervous system needs proof that it's safe, not instructions. That last part's super important because I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm telling you things that I did and what I've seen work for myself, for my patients, from other people that I talk to. And it can look like a bunch of different things, but one of the most simplest things you can do to reset your nervous system, to take you out of fight or flight, is breath work. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It literally can just be taking a deep breath in through your nose, holding it, and then taking a longer exhale out through your mouth. And you're going to cycle that. And you're going to do that a few times in a row. So the way that I do it is I take a breath in for 3, I hold for 4, 5 seconds, and I breathe out for 6 to 8 seconds. That breath out needs to be longer than that breath in. That's going to really tap into helping you re-regulate and try to break that stress, that fight or flight response. Obviously, movement can do this as well. And I want to just say, like, intentional movement. I don't mean you have to go and do a workout or a hit or run. I think those are great ways to manage stress if those are things that help you. But movement in general can also help re-regulate and take you out of that stressful state. And that can be things simple, going out for a walk, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. And I challenge you that when you do this, be present inside that moment. Think about, what do you hear? Tap into your senses. What do you smell? What do you see? Focus on those things that are going to bring us back into our body. Or you could also do a body scan on the walk. You don't have to do a body scan just seated, but you could do one out in nature. You have 10 minutes, you're going to go out for a walk. We're not going to put our phones, no, like, unless you listen to this podcast, maybe, but nothing on for the first few minutes. And you're just going to scan your body and see where you're holding stress, see where you're holding anxiety, see what it's saying to you. Listen, your body keeps a score. And if you listen to it, it tells a story as well. And learning these tools can help you show up better and more present inside of your caregiving life and what you're doing each and every day. You can do some cool therapies as well that really help with regulating this stuff. And that could be like red light therapy is really great at this. You can do halotherapy, which is like a salt room if you have one local to you. That's really good for nervous system regulation. Obviously, I'm a chiropractor, so finding a chiropractor that really focuses on how to re-regulate breath work in the nervous system is fantastic. Acupuncture, I mean, there's an array of different things that you can do to us ancillary services to tap into that rest and relaxed state. Here's one that may make some people uncomfortable, but we'll just say it: letting yourself cry. Letting those emotions out without immediately managing it or explaining it. So in some of these practices, as you're inner reflecting, you're trying to do some things to make you feel better and better regulated, really should also be probably done in a space that you feel safe. And that just means, like, obviously a lot's being called upon you to be that caregiver and to take care of all the situations at hand. But if you have the ability to go to a private space, the beach, the park, the mountains, wherever you live that makes you feel like you are in a safe spot, that will be such a beautiful place to try some of these practices out or to cry, because then we're going to not have that interruption of what's going on inside of our daily 4 walls that we live inside of. I think the last piece I want to leave you with in regards to like what can actually move that needle in the right direction is the permission piece. It's your permission slip. If you need one, here it is. Realizing that you are allowed to need something. You are allowed to break down. You are allowed to need that time and space to work on yourself, to feel better about yourself, so you can continue on this journey, no matter what that path looks like. Tending to yourself is not a betrayal of your child's healing. And if anything, it should be essential that you do this to help better regulate and show up as the best mom, dad, caregiver that you can actually be. And again, these things don't have to be massive. If you're limited on time, resources, or finances, you have to pick the ones that can fit inside of your life and even the capacity of what you're willing to do. When I first started doing this, I didn't start out with all the things and all the expenses. I literally started out with breath work, breathing, body scanning, meditation, Then I started to do other things like journaling and seeing a therapist and different things like that. But I wasn't even ready in the beginning to do some of this stuff because my body just revolted it. I was so stuck in that fight or flight that I didn't think that it would help. So I just started simple, just little chunks in your day, wherever you can make it. Here's what I want you to hear. Taking care of yourself is not a break from taking care of your child. It's actually part of it. When you are running on empty, in survival mode, teeth clenched, waking up at 3 a.m., you are not more dedicated. You're depleted. And your child can feel that too. I lived in my nervous system's emergency for 18 months, and I didn't even realize it. And when I finally came out of it, when I could feel the sun again, when I could actually laugh without it feeling foreign, I became a very different mom. Not a perfect one, let's be real, but a present one. So if your body is giving you signs, the tension, the exhaustion, the flatness, please don't explain it away. That's not weakness. It's information. It's your body talking to you. And it will talk. The question is, will you listen? You were born for this journey, and part of this journey is deciding that you matter in it too. Right before we finish, and I tie this up, I want you to take a few breaths with me here. And let's just practice this super easy thing that you can start today and interweave into your day. Take a deep breath. Inhale through your nose, slow, for 3, 2, 1. And I want you to hold it for a few seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's breathe it out of our mouth really slow. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's your nervous system getting one piece of proof that you are safe now. You can give yourself that anytime. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode hit somewhere real for you, if you recognize yourself in any of it, I just want you to know that's not a coincidence. Your body has been working hard, quietly without anyone asking it to stop. You are not weak for feeling it. You are not dramatic for carrying it still. You are a parent who has been in survival mode, and survival mode was exactly what your family needed from you. But you are allowed to come back now. You are allowed to tend to yourself the way you have been tending to everyone else. Your nervous system doesn't need you to have it all together. It just needs a small signal that the emergency is over. And maybe that starts today. If this episode resonated, share it with another parent who needs to hear it, because I promise you, they won't share it themselves. They are too busy holding it all together. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love for you to take one simple step. Share it with a friend, another parent, or a caregiver who might need to know they are not alone in this journey. Make sure you are subscribed so you will never miss an episode. We release new stories every Monday. And if you're looking for more connection, resources, or ways to share your own story, come join us on Instagram at Born for This Stories, or visit our website at bornforthisstories.com. Remember, whatever part of the journey you're in, the waiting room, the recovery, or the in-between, you do not have to carry it alone. We see you, we stand with you, and never forget, you were born for this.